What song changed your whole taste in music? Enjoy the Silence, Depeche Mode. Chopin's Nocturne Opus 9 No. 2, went from an EDM, funk lover to classical, romantical. Kraftwerk, Autobahn. Shine On You Crazy Diamond, the long intro and slow build with a blazing end took me to take a deeper look at Floyd's earlier work. Comfortably Numb, Pink Floyd. Bullet with Butterfly Wings. Smashing Pumpkins. Early 90s. Just out of high school. Watching Rage one Saturday morning. 30 plus YRS on I Still Love the Genre. What is a place that you're afraid of visiting again and why? Syria. I went before the Civil War and it was honestly one of the loveliest places I've ever been. With super nice friendly people. Add to that the food is amazing. It would break my heart to see some of the places now. Exuma. The Bahamas. Instead of going to a resort, we rented a house on VRBO. Gorgeous beachfront property with an infinity pool. 6 bedrooms etc. As soon as we pulled to the house, 4 men came out of the bushes and informed us that they were our house staff for the week for low cost of $250. They all held machetes. We paid them. They left. I did not sleep at all on that vacation. A month ago, I visited a historical part of town. They opened up an underground jail that was used by the Japanese to torture and kill people in WW2. It is a small space but it is really eerie. It doesn't help that the exhibit ends with life-size Japanese soldier mannequin. Somalia. Relatives of my father would pity my parents. Because I was an unmarried 20-year-old woman. They would, of course, then blame it on the fact that I was born in a Western country. Then they would go on and laugh at my parents. Because they paid for my education. My relatives thought it was an absolute waste since I was just a girl. Nuevo Laredo. Cops are scary. Cartel runs the town and I've had a gun pulled on me twice. It used to be fun ages ago. Deserted trailer park in the woods across the street from my childhood home. No road going in or out. It was all overgrown. You could see glimpses of the trailers through the trees and they were completely derelict. I'm talking giant holes in the roofs. Walls falling down. Turns out it wasn't deserted though. There were a few people who either hung out or actually lived in there. One man was blonde, tall and utterly gaunt with waxy-looking skin. Once he showed up on our front porch with roses for my mother. Turns out he had a massive crush on her and would watch her from the forest as she went about her day. She told me he was a vampire. I guess that was adult code for addict. Have some really odd stories from that place. Last time I was in town and drove by you couldn't see the trailers anymore. I think they've completely fallen apart and are buried under years of old leaves and debris. I wonder whatever happened to the folks who lived there and the vampire man. Which movie has infinite rewatchability value for you? Snatch. The Parent Trap. Jurassic Park. Hot Fuzz. My absolute favorite. Tombstone. The Fifth Element, Society, Nightbreed. What first comes to mind when you see the letter X? It marks the spot. X gonna give it to ya. Solve for X. All those algebraic equations still haunt me. XXX. X-Files. X-Men. To people that fell for porn ads that say, blank is within 1 mile of you and wants sex, what happened? Sometimes they link to cam sites that steal your data. Long time ago they'd link to a site called Fling. Like a genuine social media site for sex. Where you genuinely could meet people locally for sex. But more often than not the profiles were bots that'd link back to the aforementioned cam sites. Don't ask me how I know. I use VPN, so unfortunately all those horny single grandmas are on the other side of the world. We should also ask and consider the women who were waiting, excruciatingly horny, for singles in her area to click on the ads. It would be a hard gig to have to wait for those interested to click the ad. Download malware, have their details compromised, etc. before you even get to chat to them. Well, I've got an ex that worked shortly for one of those sites. So basically would log in whenever she wanted and anonymously type out single responses to the clients. After each response you would get a new client to talk to. Each chat had like the history of what was said, and there is a note section where you would type some important details what happened earlier on. If a client sends a dick pic you would type dick in the notes so the next one knew that the guy had sent one. Your job was basically to keep the clients talking as they were paying €1 per massage. Their general location was also noted so you could Google Maps a place nearby where you're supposed to live. So basically it's a scam. You're never ever going to meet the fake girl, and each message was coming from someone else. This was years ago in the Netherlands. So maybe some local sex ads are different. Who knows? At first she kinda enjoyed it, as it was kinda funny. But after a week or so it was just grinding responses, looking at dick pics and being kinda amazed about the weird and sometimes disturbing dirty talk people sent to the fake girls. Are these ads actually fake? I thought no one wanted to have sex with me. Well, I slept with all the women within 1 mile of me and got a free iPad. Why do you ask? A girl approaches you and says, pretend we're friends. I'm being followed. What would you do? Pretend that I am her friend. This happened to me about 3 years ago. I was in Home Depot and a young woman, about half my age, walked up to me, with a guy right on her shoulder babbling about something. And she said, Uncle Steve, I didn't think I'd see you until Mom's birthday party. I looked at her a little confused, but she made a help me face. And so I said, well, you're in town already. This is a fun surprise. You wanna shop together? We can talk a little while we get our stuff. She gave the kind of look I expect Superman gets when he plucks somebody from a burning building. Creepy guy was still there. So I made my voice a little gruff and said, do you need something? He said no and went away. We shopped and got our stuff. Checked out. I walked her to her car and watched while she drove away. Actually happened to me once. Girl approached my wife and me at a bar and asked if I could pretend to be her brother. Some guy was creeping her out. I was just like, hey, there you are. Didn't you see us sitting here? Dude left. Go along with her pretense but keep my hand on my wallet. Had this happen once. Felt like Fing Batman the rest of the week. So, we owned a little clothier on the north side of Chicago back in 2016. I was still a smoker then. So I was out on break. Woman with a stroller walks right at me. Grabs my arm. Says, pretend you're my husband, in hushed tones. A creepy dude has been tailing her for blocks. This was a nice area and the dude was clearly up to no good. I walked her to the coffee shop a few blocks away. A big group of friends was waiting there. She said, you're a pretty big guy and you look trustworthy. It was about the best compliment I've gotten. From a stranger. Fairly certain this guy was mugging people too. What a messed up dude to target a woman with a newborn. Other than pretend to be friends, I'd take her to the nearest public building with good lighting, other people, and ask for help from the staff. What's a disgusting smell that you surprisingly enjoy? The smell of the water in the Pirates of the Caribbean ride at Disney World. I love the smell of WD-40. It's industrial, metallic, and I like it. Campfire. I was surprised how many people hate the smell of fire or ashes, but I love it. Home Depot. This is gonna sound gross, but back when I was in college I had a dorm mate that I shared a bathroom with. It was usually 2 rooms connected by a bathroom. Anyways, anytime he was in there I noticed a ginger snap type smell. Whenever I'd go in to do my business I'd smell this ginger snap smell. Keep in mind dormitory students are usually broke, so I always looked forward to that ginger snap smell. It often made me hungry. Well, one day I had finally had enough of this guy never offering any of his homemade or store-bought cookies. After all, he did have a toaster oven because I often used it for my pizza. And then I'd give him a pizza. It was only fair for him to share cookies with me since I usually gave him a French bread whenever I used his too. I jokingly confront him and ask why he's never offered me any cookies. He asks what cookies? I say the cookies I always smell when you leave your side of the bathroom open. He looks at me and busts out laughing and says it's the smell of the candle he uses whenever he takes a shit. That candle combined with his shit was literally giving off ginger snap cookie aroma for whatever reason. This was over a decade ago, and to this very day he always reminds me whenever I see him to poke fun at me. The smell of a freshly lit match. Edit. Astonished face. Holy crap. That's a lot of upvotes. I didn't know that so many people like the smell of matches. Subscribe, my brothers.